Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, I wish this could be in person, but given the ice storm effects and campus being closed, we felt this was the best way. We also didn't want to push it back any further, but appreciate you gathering and joining us today to discuss not only this great signing class, but all the things that are occurring within our football program. Obviously, as you guys have read, we added 38 new additions, a variety of ways to this program, and excited for those guys to get to work. Quite a few of them are already here. Obviously, more will be joining us in June, but we're excited about the future of this program. It's been great. We also have spring ball that will be starting on March 19th, so you can mark your calendars for that, and that will go all the way till middle of April with our Friday Night Stripes game. We'll get more information out to you guys, Scott will, along the way, but we'll continue to move forward and keep you guys abreast of everything going on within our program.
Matt, and then Frank.
Ryan, hope you're doing well, man. Obviously, I know you talked about best player available, but you guys did lose your top 4 pass catchers from last year's team. How much of an emphasis for you was it to retool that group a little bit with what you already have in the building?
Yeah, I think, obviously we did lose players to the transfer portal. We lost 14 scholarship players to the transfer portal since August. 3 of those guys went to Power 5 programs. But we felt very comfortable with the guys that were remaining in our roster, especially pass catchers. Excited about some of the guys that were returning and some of the growth of some of our younger guys. You look at it, you say, okay, if you lose a guy at this position, do you need to replace him? And that's the question you have to ask yourself with the transfer portal. How much do you delve into high school? How much do you delve into junior college? And how much do you delve into true transfers? And so losing some pass catchers, obviously we felt like we needed to replace those guys. And we felt like we did so. I'm very excited about some of the guys that we're going to bring in. Guys that have been productive in college and guys that will be very productive for the Memphis Tigers.
Frank, and then Evan.
Hey Ryan, how's it going?
Good, Frank. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Going looking at the transfers you brought in, and I know you talk about your culture and everything. How important is this offseason just bringing those guys into the fold, teaching them the culture and the kind of the way that Memphis does things? Yeah,
it's a great question, Frank. And I think, we talk about it, and you guys have heard me mention this before on radio and press conferences. 35% roster turnover expectations occurring throughout college football, right? You got a place like Arizona State, which was Texas A&M, almost 50% turnover. And that doesn't include, new coaches, new janitors, new grad assistants, new strength, all those things that are occurring throughout college football. So we understand that the culture has to be pressed every single day by every single person within. And to me, that's as important. Lift all the weights, we can learn the X's and O's, go out there and run. But if we don't understand, hey, these are the standards and the way we do things, fighting up the battle. So we're constantly pressing every single day. Type of young men and the people that we bring into our program, this is the way. We're not just going to bring in guys just to bring in guys to say, okay, we checked off another box. We're going to find the right type of young men that fit what we want to do, not only schematically, but wise. And we got to continue to harp on it. And it's got to be important because this is the new norm, right? Where if you're losing 35% of your roster, 35% of your staff, all those things, guess what? There's got to be one voice. It's got to be mine, and we got to make sure the culture is on path and on track with what we do.
Evan, and then Terry.
Hey, Ryan. You mentioned earlier, I think in December, just kind of the balance you have with just, getting high school players and getting transfers. Obviously, you guys got a lot of transfers in this group. So kind of, how did you kind of navigate that balance where you obviously want to replenish the well with younger players, but you see the need for getting transfers, obviously, if they are available?
Yeah, I think Evan's find that fine balance, and it's going to be give and take. We actually signed 16 high school players and only brought in 15 transfers that were scholarship. So you look at that number and you say, wow, we actually brought in more high school kids and transfers. We're one of the few colleges that actually did that. Someone said that you had talked about us saying it's a must-win season. Absolutely, they're all must-win seasons. But reality, we brought in a lot less transfers than most of our counterparts. And you can do the stats and figure that out. We're actually going to lose quite a few more guys in that next transfer. So I'm telling you guys right now, when you guys are saying, man, wow, great job bringing all these guys, we're going to lose a handful of guys come that May transfer. So I'm telling you right now. So we will actually have lost more players that transferred out of here than we'll actually bring in, but replacing them with junior college and high school. So it's find that right balance, and I think we're on the right track. Obviously, nothing can tell until we get to December and say, okay, yeah, it was the right mix. Right.
I guess to kind of follow up on that, like you with that balance, I guess because as Matt mentioned, you guys did lose a lot of players in the portal. I guess kind of as a coach, how do you negotiate that balance? Where obviously you look at a player and say, okay, this is a young high school player we want to get in, or hey, this is a transfer who can help us win maybe right away. How, I guess maybe specifically, how do you kind of like weigh that out as a staff? Like obviously we're high school players, but you do see a transfer, maybe this person can help out a little bit.
Yeah, if we feel like a guy can assist a need. Now, I'll tell you this: we did bring in some transfers this time that we probably don't expect to help us immediately, and so it's find that right balance, right? So, say, for instance, let's use a specific position. So, say at linebacker, which we didn't. Say we lost 3 sophomore linebackers. Well, it does us no good to go get 3 grad transfer linebackers. Now all of a sudden, now there's an imbalance in your roster. So you actually have to be smart in how you're going about and saying, okay, if we lost 3 transfer sophomore linebackers, well, we probably need to find at least 2 of them in similar age range. If not, you have the discrepancies in your roster where you're, hey, all these grad transfers, all this. I mean, it's funny. There's some programs out there. There's one program that I won't mention their name. In 3 years has only signed 12 high school players. And if on average they used to sign 25 high school players, that's 75 high school players, and now they've only signed 12 in a 3-year period. Right, you think about the math there. That's all of a sudden 63 high school kids that went unsigned within that program. So find that fine balance. We're still going to recruit high school guys. Like I said, we brought in 16. We're going to continue bringing some walk-ons, guys like that, to help meet our numbers, what we want this thing to look like. But trying to find that fine balance, Evan. And you're exactly right. There'll be a guy. It's the flashy thing. All right. Is it easy? Everybody wants to go get a transfer because they think maybe it is a quick fix, but that's not always the case. And so it's trying to be smart with the way we go about it. And I think we weigh that every single time.
How you doing, Coach?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Culture is one thing, but chemistry is a totally different thing. Now, you have 7 months to get the chemistry together. Is that going to be enough time to get it? I know you got to do the culture and chemistry is sometimes more important than culture. So how you going to get that chemistry together by the start of the season?
Yeah, absolutely, Terry. I think that's one of those things that, right, every head coach is asking themselves, because this is the new norm, right? The constant change and coaching changes, right? There's more assistant coaches that changed jobs the last 2 years in the history of college football. And then you look at trying to build the culture, but then how do you get these players to blend, right? How do you get them to get along? Because we know it's so important at every position. There's some camaraderie. And that's our job, right? Whether it's doing different things in the off season. Terry, one of the things we're doing uniquely is we're actually going to have the guys kind of create their own teams and off season drills and workouts. So now maybe within a bond, it's maybe 2 offensive linemen working with 2 defensive linemen, working with 2 DBs. So now the chemistry is not just built amongst positions, but amongst the entire team. I've got to do a better job of continuing to find different team building activities, right? There's only so many hours in a day. These guys still got to do academics. They still got to learn football. And they still got to get the strength and conditioning. But you're right, Terry. I think that's going to be a challenge for us, is making sure that we are building that chemistry. And it can't just be, okay, hey, let's start it in August when we put on the pads and get after a training camp. It's got to be right now. And we're working on those things. We've got a great team of people that help support this program. They're coming up with great ideas and finding ways we can continue to build that chemistry.
Matt, and then back to Frank.
Besides the pass catcher skill position guys, is there another position group that you look at this class that really gets you excited, maybe a little more than others?
Yeah, I think you look at it, and we brought in a variety of different guys at different positions. You kind of look at some of the stuff we were able to do, at the D tackle position. Get some of those guys we brought in, right? Whether it's 2 transfers that one time were at Texas A&M and Oklahoma. We brought in some bodies on the offensive line. I think that's, everybody always says, hey, Coach, what's the biggest difference between maybe the SEC and the A's? I said, sometimes find that depth at O-line and D-line. And I felt like we did a nice job in the trenches, getting some guys that can come and compete. That's kind of what we wanted to. You want competition every spot, but we felt like, okay, maybe we can beef up some of these guys. you know, as you guys well know, we lost quite a few transfers at the defensive line position, you know, prior to the season. I think it was from spring ball to the start of training camp, even through training camp, guys either quit or transferred or quit, you know, or decided to do something else. And so that kind of affected us, but we were able to build that back up in the transfer.
Ryan, I know this may be difficult to answer right now at this time, but are there any of the transfers who you do see could have some immediate impact or expect position wise?
You know, Frank, right now, all I've seen is lift a few weights and maybe do some sprints. But I do feel like there are quite a handful of the guys that we brought in that can help us, right? I think you find that fine balance. And we all get in trouble by doing this, right? Okay, hey, lost this position, I'm going to go fill it with this position. It's going to be immediate need, right? If a guy was productive for us and they left us, they transferred, they quit for whatever reason, it's hard to just say, okay, we're going to directly replace them. But that's the plan with some of these guys. We feel like some of the talent we brought in should be immediate guys. And then we also have, we're excited about the youth of our, you know, that high rated recruiting class 3 years ago. Guess what? Some of those guys are going to be redshirt sophomores and juniors now. So we have high expectations as well. So, but yeah, I think, you know, without sitting there going through the entire deal, I feel really comfortable about all 15 guys we brought in that they can contribute.
Clayton and then Evan.
Hey, Ryan, just wanted to ask you, as you mentioned that May portal, you said you're planning to lose people as well. Is there a position group now based on kind of who you've already lost, you've already brought in that you're targeting, saying, hey, we need to go after this, you know, in that next cycle?
We'll see. I mean, it's the nature of the business, right? Let's see how good spring ball is. And, yeah, this is one of those things we've done this to ourselves in college football. Players find the best situation for themselves, but as a football program, we have to put ourselves in this situation. I don't have that answer for you right now, but I hope to. And by the way, Clayton, you're the only. No offense to everybody else on here. You look like you continue to get younger and younger every time I see you. So good for you. I don't know if it's the filter you're using on your darn Zoom deal. No offense, Evan, but I mean, Clayton looks. Gosh darn, you look like a 15-year-old. Good for you.
I don't have my hair done. That's why.
Good for you. Maybe that's it.
Evan and then Tim.
And I've been sick all week, so I look old as hell, probably.
Yeah. No comment.
Yeah. Anyway, so one thing for me, you mentioned just getting more depth in the O-line, D-line. Obviously, that's something where you do have some depth coming back. You obviously have guys like Likes and you have Jalen Allen back, but just how important was that for you guys to try to get more depth? It seemed like even from December, you guys tried to add more depth up front. Yeah,
Evan, I think that's huge because as the season goes on, right, we don't know what's going to happen to us in the next transfer window. For a variety of reasons. Guys moving out. What you ever don't want to be doing is stuck and say, wow, we don't have a left tackle. We don't have a nose guard. So we had to make sure we brought in enough depth to compete. And that's been a priority for us. Getting as many guys as we can get in there and come in. Plus, it's a long season. If you looked as the season went on, you know, week 8, week 9, we were seeing more and more backups that are getting playing time because guys get dinged up as the season. So you want to make sure that you're got enough depth, hopefully play 14 games and figure it out.
And then last thing for me, you guys obviously, you know, you got some new receivers here, and I heard you talk about them on the radio a little bit, but obviously because you lost so many pass catchers in the portal, like what excites you just kind of about these new receivers who are going to come in? Obviously, they've had some production at their previous school, but what excites you about guys like Blankumsey and can't remember the other gentleman's name right now. Sorry.
Dove.
Yeah,
right, Dove. Yeah, you got Dove, Bussy, Blankumsey. You know, you talked about the production at the previous school. I think that's huge. Let's start with Tusky Dove, 19-game starter, team captain at Mizzou. I mean, look, anytime you're named a team captain in an SEC program, his leadership skills, he's got length, he can run. And then you talk about Blankumsey, like he was very productive at Toledo. He was a little bit banged up last season. He's a guy that has flashed on film. You go back and watch his game film, you say, man, this kid can really get it. He can get in and out of his breaks. And then Bussy is a junior college transfer that was highly productive. That I think is going to, across some people's names this season. We're going to be quite surprised by his ability.
Tim?
Coach, I got a face for newspapers and I'm losing my hair, so you don't see it. Hey, I know at the coaches convention last month, there was a little bit more talk about the whole setup. Obviously a while back, everybody was clamoring for the early signing period. Now there's perhaps mixed reviews on it. Which camp do you sit in? What do you like? What do you not like about the way that it's split right now and the impact on February and how the December affects teams preparing for bowl games? And should there be maybe an open period or not?
Yeah, Tim, those are all great questions and probably would take us about 30 hours to go through it all. But you're exactly right. That's been the dialogue amongst head coaches, athletic directors, and presidents. How do we get this thing kind of back on track? Talk to anybody that's in college football says it's not sustainable. Reality of it is it's not. Talked about what occurred in December, right? Whether it's staff changes, preparing for a bowl game, signing a high school class, recruiting transfers, right? Trying to keep your own roster together. Again, I always say this, nobody ever wants to hear a head coach complain, just figure it out and get it done. But it was a wild, wild December all the way up really until mid-January, until that transfer portal kind of started to slow down. It was never done. Teams will continue to do work up until signing day on Wednesday. But, as a coaches, we actually, talked about, everyone says, let's get rid of this early signing day, but I don't know how that works. Someone will have to explain that to me, because if you get rid of that, when do the transfers, first off, sign? Secondly, when do the high school kids sign? Because 60% of high school players are enrolling in colleges early. So someone's going to have to figure that out. We've actually discussed maybe having multiple signing days, right? You do a signing day July 1st, then do you do another one December 1st for high school kids, and then another one that first Wednesday in February. And then maybe that breaks it up. So then when the transfer portal opens, maybe we shrink those windows down as well. That there's a little bit more, for lack of a better term, a little bit more structure to this. And I think that's what we're all looking for, is how do we wrap our hands around trying to schedule everything here and there out, to be determined. Voices and opinions matter to an extent. The NCAA is still trying to figure it out. Competition committee is going to continue. We are trying to figure out a way to minimize the crazy December. How do we structure this thing better? I'm in favor of letting a high school kid sign. If you offer a high school kid, it's a committable offer, and they want to sign that piece of paper, January 12th, their junior year, it's a committable offer. Well, then they sign that NIL and, NLI. You're saying NILs nowadays, that it now counts towards their deal. And if they want to leave and we put certain rules, regulations into it, maybe it counts towards your transfer. That would end a lot of this confusion as to these kids that are, committed to 7 different schools before they end up signing a piece of paper. They go to a school for 6 months and they end up transferring. So we'll see. There's going to be a lot of dialogue about this. Hopefully I have a small percentage say in it, but like everybody, we're trying to figure out and navigate this day and age of college football.
All right, last two. We got Matt and then Terry.
I know at the end of the day, it all comes down to adding as many good players as possible. With the portal, what is your philosophy on going after guys that have played in, let's say, the SEC or played at the highest level of competition that could do it at that level versus going after diamonds in the rough at, let's say, Toledo that you think can make an impact in the AAC as well?
Yeah, that's a great question, Matt. I think it's finding that fine balance, right? There's a lot of guys in the SEC that couldn't play here at Memphis, okay? And there's a lot of guys at FCS football that could play here. I think that's what we've done. Take a kid like Davion Ross, that was an All-American. Malik Feaster, that was an All-American at Jacksonville State, right? A recent signing. That went to Florida State and probably didn't play as much as he want, but hopefully has that opportunity here at Memphis. Davion Ross, an All-American at Eastern Kentucky, comes here and has been good. We've also signed some SEC guys that couldn't see the field for us. That's the nature of this whole thing. So I think just try and find that best available player if the guy fits us. I think just like with everything, right? The transfer portal looks great. We're going to sit here and say, man, great job hauling all these guys in. It's just like in recruiting. Yeah, you're going to miss on about half the guys. And, hopefully, at least with them, maybe you've seen what they can do at the collegiate level. And
All right, Terry.
Hey, Coach, with your 2 defense coordinators coming back, You think that is going to make it easier for your new guys to come in with the old guys helping them out versus having the whole team to learn a whole new system?
Absolutely. I think, you sit there and you keep your fingers crossed because we know staff changes aren't done until stuff settles and maybe till that first kickoff. But it's no different with the portal. You sit there and say, man, we really like this roster, but won't sleep. Kick off and figure. Yeah, I think having our offense and defense coordinator back are huge for us. I think that, the systems and the players knowing what they're getting into. Now, it's also teaching, exactly right, these newcomers, here is the new system, right? In the wide receiver room, there's a bunch of guys learning the new playbook. Them, it's new. For a couple guys, like Joe Skates and Rock Taylor, it's a repeat. But I think, having a quarterback back that understands it, the defensive guys, it's going to be huge. It's going to be great going for us. The offseason instead of scheme more techniques. Good amount of our guys.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.